If you're looking for fuel efficiency in a crossover compact SUV, there's no better time to shop for one. Between 130 to 160,000 ringgit, you get hybrids, plug-in hybrids of different sizes, all offering crazy high range. And then there's this, the Nissan Kicks. It's the most compact of them all to offer high range, up to 900 kilometers per full tank, and it's the most affordable, starting from 113,000 ringgit. You know what that means, right? Road trip! We're going to see if the 41-litre tank in the Nissan Kicks can handle going to Penang and back without refueling. What's making this possible is the Kicks' unique e-Power powertrain. Simply put, it's 100% driven by an electric motor, but it has an engine. The sole purpose of the 1.2-litre engine is to charge the 2kW battery that powers the electric motor. We'll talk about that later. Since it's a road trip, in case you're wondering how big the 423-litre boot is, if you're travelling alone, it looks like this. But if you're travelling with more people, it looks like this. Effect tak jadi. It will easily take 2 mid-size luggages and 2 cabin-size luggages. Not bad. Alright, since I'll be driving the entire way, let me just show you a bit of the rear section. Admittedly, not the most spacious. I have the front seat adjusted to my position. There is just a bit of room, about 2 inches. Good enough. The seats are not too upright. In fact, I think quite comfortable. And I like how the two-tone seat design doesn't look too tacky. There are 2 USB ports, no armrests and no aircon vents. But wait a second. Center the air vent, max fan speed. Good enough. Okay, Penang. We filled it up, reset the meter. The aircon, by the way, during the Nissan Kicks media test drive to Malacca, it was unusually cold. So some of the media actually asked upon arrival, and they said it's actually been tuned for the Malaysian climate. Even with the fan speed at 1, temperature 25, 26 degrees, the air is still strong and cold. For those who don't like to be sweaty, sticky, your dream car has arrived. But that's not the highlight of this car though, it's the e-Power system. It's pretty incredible. I've spent around 500 kilometers with this car now, and the more I drive it, the more I like it. Because it runs purely on an electric motor to drive the front wheels, it's like an EV. Not extremely powerful, but enough to give you that effortless acceleration. Coming out of junctions, roundabouts, moving from a standstill, you get that instant, smooth acceleration. The 1.2-litre engine is purely there as a generator. It's just like those generators you see at a pasar malam. As long as there's fuel in it, the stall will have lights. It's the same with this. As long as there's fuel in it, you're good. Power, 129 horsepower, 280 Newton meters of torque. That's what's giving you the effortless acceleration. 0 to 100, 9.5 seconds. About the same as some SUVs with larger turbocharged engines. In most city driving conditions, in its default drive mode, if you think this performance is underpowered, then you better work harder and get a BMW. Why I say default drive mode? It's because when you put it into eco mode, it actually feels like they've dialed down the performance just a bit. Still enough, it also activates the single pedal driving mode, where you move the car and slow it down using just the accelerator pedal. I'm usually not a fan of this system, but this one is an exception. It's intuitive and easy to get used to. And once you have, you'll hardly use the brakes. Press to accelerate, lift off to slow down. Unlike the other vehicles that have such a system, this one doesn't slow down abruptly if you accidentally lift off the throttle or lift off too quickly. The system will slow the car down to a maximum of 5 kilometers an hour, and then you'll have to press the brakes to come to a stop. Apparently, it can reduce brake usage by up to 70%. When you lift off the accelerator, it also charges up the battery, so use recharge, use, recharge. Hello? Still there, right? Still listening to me, right? In case you're wondering, with the single pedal driving system, with the constant lifting off and slowing down, will the car behind know? Well, there's a display here to show you when your brake lights come on. Speaking of the different drive modes, as you go through Eco, Normal and Sport, the range changes accordingly as well. Talk about keeping you grounded. Before you start falling asleep, I better stop to address some of the issues. We're at Gopeng Riverstones, an eco resort for those looking to get away for some peace and quiet without driving too far. Actually, it's more like I shamelessly asked the owner to use their yard to get some B-rolls because of the nice background. Look, it's a nice environment. I've been here many times. Love it. The e-Power system is impressive, but compared with all the crossovers and compact SUVs we have today, I think it's quite easy for people to be negative with the car. Oh, the door panel looks a little outdated. There's no sunroof, no ambient lighting, half digital display, manual seats, what? All valid points, but I think if you look at your options, vehicles that give you high mileage per full tank, I think you'll notice that each offers something that the other doesn't have. As for this, it's the size, or the lack of it, depending on how you see it. Compared with the other long-range vehicles, this one is the most compact. This is only about the length of a Toyota Vios and overall as big as a Proton Iris, smaller than the HR-V and the Corolla Cross. I can agree with you that the other options may look more impressive, more standout, but I think you can also agree with me that not everyone wants a big car. I think a compact car is still appealing. Good for everyday use, it's easy to park. This one's quite tall though, taller than a HR-V even, as tall as an X50. It has decent 170mm ground clearance, yet it's not hard to get in and out. Overall, I think it's a decent looking car, but I'm sure some would disagree. Some of my friends already have. And I'm not going to pretend there isn't an elephant in the room, because there is. This arrived late. This facelift version was already launched in Thailand quite a few years ago, but if there's any consolation, this comes with the newer e-Power system with a slightly bigger 2 kWh battery. And if fuel consumption is the focus here, I think the car has done a fantastic job. For those wondering, what is acceleration like? Here's 40 kilometers an hour to 100. From 100 onwards, that was done elsewhere by somebody else. So far, we've been driving within the speed limit, once or twice, just a little over. On average, we've been doing between 90 kilometers an hour to about 110, depending on traffic conditions. We've got another 100 kilometers before we arrive in Butterworth, and I can already smell the nasi kandar. We're here! So far, we've covered 360 kilometers with 394 kilometers range to go. Fuel level is just above half tank. Fuel consumption 20 kilometers per litre. That's around 5 litres per 100 kilometers. Compared to the Serena that we brought along as a support car, that one did 11 kilometers per litre or 9 litres per 100 kilometers. This KL to Penang and back to KL one tank challenge is looking good. Alright, before we go, check this out. You've got 2 cup holders here. If you need to put longer items, lift up the plate, then you can put your bottles. But if you need even more storage, you can lift the entire thing up. Some of you might need it because this is all you get for the armrest storage. Glove box storage is decent, so are the door panels. You know, I can live with the manual seat adjustments, but the surround view monitor, wow. You've got front, side angles, but the display quality, it's like watching a YouTube video with poor internet connection. But then, on the rear view mirror, you get a high-res display. I'm not really a fan of it, feels too close. I think the only reason why you turn it on is to check out the driver behind you. I think for what this car needs to do and be, it does it quite well. This would be my 5th, 6th day with it, and so far as a town car, I've got no major complaints. It's easy to park, fuel efficient, got a big enough boot for my rubbish, Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, wired. You've also got sufficient safety systems and 7 airbags. Oh, also I must say, it's actually quite nice to drive. On winding roads, tighter roads, I'd even go as far as to say, kind of fun. And the tyres it has on, it's a real surprise. Not bad in the wet as well. On highways, within reasonable speeds, 110, slightly faster, it feels quite assuring. Not nervous. Speaking of surprises, the cabin, surprisingly well insulated, quiet, and rightfully so. I'm doing 110 kilometers an hour now, and it's a nice place to be. Not bad for a 120,000 ringgit car. And that should be the way, because you're running quietly like an EV all the time. If there's a lot of wind noise, road noise, you'll be very annoying. But the icing on the cake? The zero-gravity seats. It's inspired by an astronaut's posture, supposedly to reduce fatigue, improve blood flow, and with a lot of backbone science behind it. You can read up on it yourself. I'll share a few links below. All I know is it's comfortable, supportive, feels like those ergonomic chairs, and for someone with a sensitive back like me, I approve this. Try it. You'd think I'm crazy, but with everything advancing too quickly, simpler is better. To me, this is now a USP. Hear me out, huh? There's nothing much to play around here or here, and even if there was, set it once and you're done. Get into the car and drive. Unlike those excessively high-tech cars we have these days that make you feel like a jet pilot. On, off, before you can move. I'm already miserable, I have to go to work. Shouldn't make it harder for me. 3-cylinder engine sound criticisms, valid, but no choice. That's how they all sound. Does it have the typical vibrations? Honestly, you do feel some sensations, but I wouldn't call it vibrations. With that out of the way, is this the car for you? Simply put, if you are attracted to the big screens, the fancy lights, you prefer a fancy interior, and can accept less returns per full tank. Nothing wrong by the way, but nah, it's not for you. I think this would be more ideal for those who already know what they want. Okay, I need my car to be compact, safe, fuel efficient, comfortable, big enough boot, and if I may, nice to drive. If that's what you're looking for, then yeah, this car is definitely worth at least a look. You know what? I think it's interesting enough that even if you're not looking to buy a car, it's worth going for a test drive just to feel it. Then of course, go find out what warranties are like, maintenance costs. Apparently, according to Nissan, maintenance cost for this is lower than the other two Japanese long ranges. So I bought my dad an Ativa recently, and both he and I wanted the base model X variant for around 65,000 ringgit all in. We went for the base model because we just wanted an Ativa. But now that I've had this for 5-6 days, honestly, if I could afford it, I'd get him this instead. Not only is it much more refined, but much more fuel efficient, and that's what he really needs. It's twice the price of the Ativa X that I got compared to this full spec model, but honestly, in my opinion, I think it's twice the car. Oh no! The low fuel warning is on. We have just passed Tanjung Malim with about 60 kilometers to go. What a bummer! So close yet so far. Range is about 50 kilometers left. We have covered 647 kilometers. Fuel is at about 1/8. Let's see what fuel consumption is like. Wow, 19.5 kilometers per liter, not too bad. 52 kilometers per hour average speed. It's all for you guys. Driving 600 kilometers within the speed limit is really no joke.
In the end, we arrived at Nissan's HQ, clocking just over 700 kilometers on one tank before the fuel display went completely empty. Fuel consumption was 19.4 kilometers per liter with an average speed of 54 kilometers an hour. But this is actually not what the Nissan Kicks with the e-power system is really about. If anything, it's even better for city driving. It works the other way around. If this full tank was driven 100% in town, you'd likely get more than 700 kilometers per tank because you're constantly using but also recharging. This Penang trip was just to show you what it's like driving consistently on a highway. For example, I went on a big loop around KL, covering around 70 kilometers in all sorts of traffic and weather conditions. At the end, there was a slight dip in fuel, but I had more range than when I started. And that's how I'd like you to remember the Nissan Kicks.
For more information on the Nissan Kicks, do log on to AutoBuzz.my. If you liked the video, hit the like button, share and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Also, don't forget to hit the bell icon for the latest notifications on our newest videos.